Welcome to Life Mastery for Women. I'm your host, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I've been studying mind mastery and emotional management and energy work and its connection to spirituality for over 25 years. And in this podcast, I help guide you out of your daily struggles in life in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. Life is hard, but your daily growth doesn't have to be. Join me 3 times a week as I lead you inward on a healing, connecting, and creating journey. Let's go get that nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you to those of you who have shared your story with me about a specific podcast that maybe has shifted your life in some way. And I think that in today's episode, as we're talking about the power of thank you, power of those words, is I want to extend a huge thank you to you in this moment. And here's what I want you to do for practice as we get started, is I want you to open your heart, open your chest and your arms, and receive the words that I say to you. Thank you for listening to my podcast. My name is Jen Mack. I'm the Lady of the Mind. It's how I address myself, because I spend hours and hours and hours studying the power of the mind and how it relates to our emotions, and then how it even goes out into the world and our environment, our connections, and our creations. So I want to extend a huge thank you for listening today, and especially on this powerful episode of the power of your words in thank you. And it is my intention to give you just one nugget of inspiration today to shift your perspective and to allow your transformation to happen a little bit easier. As transformation is hard, change is hard, but it doesn't have to be. So I want you to think of those words, thank you, and how do those words sit with you when I say that? If you are triggered by those words, I'm pretty sure you're not even hearing this episode. Some people are very triggered by the words thank you. I noticed that when let's say for Christmas, this was a specific example, or give a specific example. I got a really memorable gift from my oldest son, Bob. And we had a little bit of a tough year this past year, as you may have heard a little bit about in the podcast, and we have since reconciled our differences and deepened our connection. And he gave me a memorable gift. My grandfather on my mom's side and my stepdad used to smoke cigars and pipes. And I have very, very vivid wonderful memories of their experience. And we had this giant living room. I'm not kidding. The living room was probably 17 by 40 feet long, 35 feet long. It was huge. And very long rectangular room with a marble fireplace at one end, lots and lots of windows. It was a wonderful room. I loved playing in that room. It was so big. And I remember when my grandparents would come for Christmas, Jim, who was my stepdad, and my grandpa would, smoke a cigar, smoke a pipe, and they would fill that room with this cigar smoke and pipe smoke that it was like a fog. And then the adventure would begin in that room. And so I have very vivid memories. I love cigar smoke. I love pipe smoke. And so as a wonderful gift, and I do smoke cigars, and I'm not so regular, but I am learning more about it. And actually, I learned more about cigars and the prepping and the growth and how to appropriately cut the tips off and smoke it, and how to enjoy a true cigar. They're very expensive, first of all, but I do love it. And anyway, and I probably recently, before I would say it was maybe once a year, and maybe it even wasn't even then. I mean, years would go by. I mean, it would take me forever to get through even 6 cigars. It could be 10 years. Anyway, and so I started buying a little bit more and learning more about it. Bob and I had gone to a cigar room, and we had this great evening, or afternoon. hanging out and talking and learning about cigars and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy a few, and so I did, and I'm part of the I don't want to use the thing because then it's gone kind of attitude. I don't know if that's you or not, but it's like I don't want to eat the chocolate because then the chocolate will be gone. So I want to keep it. It's like have your cake and eat it too. That's kind of my thought. It's not into this place of taking advantage. It really is just this with my cigars, with some of my special treats. So much so that sometimes a thing goes bad because I keep it for so long and I don't want to consume it because then it'll be gone. It's actually a place of lack. I'm working on it. Anyway, and so Bob bought me a pipe for Christmas, and I just loved it. I just love it, and it just brings such great memories to me from my childhood. And so the other day, here at home, it was absolutely gorgeous outside, and it was probably 55, northern Michigan. The sun is shining, and I went and got my hammock chair, and I put it on the deck, which is one of my favorite places to be. And remember, that's actually my sanctuary. For those of you that follow me, that's where my turtles go when they are, and they're not quite out of hibernation yet. I've got one that's pretty eager out of the 4 turtles that I have. I've got one that's pretty eager to come out of hibernation, but it's just not quite, the weather is not quite trustworthy yet. So anyway, so I'm sitting out on the deck. This is what I do. I call it my sanctuary. I'm sitting in my hammock chair and I'm smoking this pipe. And I send a picture to my son, Bob, and I say, thank you. And his response is, no problem. I'm like, what? That's a weird response. Wouldn't you say you're welcome? So I want to talk about today, and I made notes about that interaction because I find it to be very interesting when people don't respond. Someone gives you a compliment, you don't say thank you. That's a receiving energy block. You're blocking receiving mode, okay? When someone says thank you to you, and you don't say you're welcome, that is also a receiving block. So I want you to take a moment now, before I go any further, I want you to take a moment, if you can, is to pause the podcast, pause this episode, and write about your beliefs about the words thank you and you're welcome. How often do you say those words? How often do you how do you believe, sorry, all of a sudden feel like I have the hiccups. What do you believe about those words? Do you use them so frequently that they're just kind of a part of your background noise? Or do you not use them very much? Do you believe in them? Do you believe in the power of them? When do you use it versus when don't you use it? If you're receiving a compliment, will you say you're welcome versus if someone's receiving a gift from you? Like there's some differences between I went and helped somebody and they said thank you and I said you're welcome versus it was my pleasure or no problem, right? Something like answering when he answered no problem, that to me is like if I had you come out and help me dig a hole or move something that was heavy or do something like that, then I would say no problem. Oh, it's no problem at all. But something like a gift, you gave me this very personalized gift that I just love, to say no problem, that to me is kind of a lack of receiving energy. That's an energy block, and that's a lack of receiving to that instead of saying you're welcome. So I want you to stop the episode. And I want you to kind of do a little bit of exploring with these words. What do you say when someone gives you a compliment? What do you say when someone thanks you for a gift that they received from you? What do you say when you receive a gift from somebody? Okay? So I want you to just explore and then give yourself a couple minutes. It could just be 5-10 minutes just to kind of turn your awareness inward and explore a little bit deeper about the words thank you and you're welcome. Okay. Hopefully you did that. Hopefully that was not something that you just rode right over. I know that sometimes, you guys are listening to these, while you're getting ready for work, you're listening to them in the car, you're listening to them in the shower even. I totally get it, but at least pause it. And if you don't get your journal out, at least pause it and just take a little time to reflect how you use those words. And then let's talk about the power of using those words. Many times in a lot of episodes, I talk about the power of gratitude. It is the highest vibration, at least that we're aware of now. It's the highest vibrational frequency. And When we can get into that place of gratitude, we are in a receiving mode. And being in a receiving mode allows your life to start to open. It opens your heart. It opens your energy system. It unkinks the hose. It allows energy to start flowing towards you in a good way. Okay. In the last episode, I talked about having the glass window in front of your energy and being in a space of, and having the window. So that window is like you shining your light. But if you have stuck energy, because we talked about triggers, if you have stuck energy and now your light is trying to shine through this window, it's creating shadows. Okay. And think of a dirty glass, like I'm looking at my slider door right now and there's like all these dog nose prints on the door, or maybe there's a squelch of like bird poop or fingerprints or something. So if I were to shine a light, you would see those shadows of where the light is trying to get through the smudge. Okay. So that's how your energy is going out into the environment. And what we want to do and what becomes the work and is what I teach and it's what I do. And as Ursula says in Little Mermaid, it's what I live for. And it really is. I love uncovering blocks and I love getting people to this clean and clear energy where they just feel lighter. They feel lighter. They feel amazing. They feel like nothing can stop them. And that to me it is the work. It's the awareness. It's the waking up. It's the getting to the bottom of things. It's uncovering the blocks and shifting your energy. So we uncover the blocks, which was last episode. We uncover the blocks. And in case for any reason the episodes are out of order, the episode that I'm referring to is Why Me? That episode is number 346. And so for whatever reason, if you're listening to this on YouTube, that's the title. If you're listening to this on the other podcast platforms, it's 346 and it's Why Me? And that's the one about uncovering the blocks. So once we uncover the blocks, now as we're clean and clear, we now can see, and now we want to create. In today's episode, as we are talking about creating and the power of thank you, that puts you into receiving mode. So when I had a client that I was working with a long time ago, and she hated her job. And she talked about how much she hated her job all the time. Well, lo and behold, she ended up getting fired from her job. And she had called in sick one day, or she had COVID. It was within a 30-day period. It was a corporation, 30-day period. You are not allowed to be sick a certain amount of time, or you're not allowed to call off a certain amount of days or whatever. And she had been there. She'd been there for several years. I bet pretty close to 10 years. And, but she complained all the time. And when I worked with her and I would hear her, I'd be like, good morning, and we'd kind of talk and we sort of became friends, and she was just like, it's not a good morning if I have to be here. I mean, she always made these comments like that. And, she always had a bad attitude about work or this particular job. So I had left working there, and I would say it was probably within a year she was let go. She had COVID. And no, she didn't have COVID because COVID wasn't around then. That was 2018, I think. But she ended up getting sick. And then, and it was a couple of days, right? She called in, she was sick. And then all of a sudden it was like at the end of the month, she called in again. The next day she went into work and they called her in the office and they let her go. So she calls me on the phone and she's like telling me how mad she is. And, as I'm letting her going on and on about what she's saying and how mad and how unjust and all these things about the bosses, and she can't even believe it, and how much time she's been there and how much time she put in. And eventually I said to her, isn't this a blessing? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I worked with you for 2.5 years over there. And I said, and I would not have ever guessed that you ever would be upset if they fired you. That would be like a godsend. And she's like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I said, because every morning when I would say good morning to you, your response was, it's never a good morning if I have to be here. And she's like, well, yeah, but I was just kidding. And I'm like, okay, for one, nothing about your demeanor said you were kidding. I said you were always complaining about the job. And I'm like, I call it how it is, right? I said you were always complaining about the job. You were always bitching about it. People would call off and you'd have to stay late. You were, always mad, always whatever. And she's like, but I've been there for a long time. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, energy doesn't work like that. Energy doesn't care about longevity. Energy is a reflection about you. And so as you are constantly saying, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, eventually the thing disappears. Okay? Your health disappears or certainly goes down. You lose the job. You lose the relationship. The goal does not get closer to you. Okay. So I was not at all surprised that she lost her job. And so now I said, listen, I know that right now I think she has like a 13-year-old son. I said, right now, before you go get another job, we need to clear up your energy. I said, because you're just going to take that same hate for that job onto another job. And she's like, yeah, we'll get around to it. I'll give you a call sometime. Okay. So time went by. I'm watching her on Facebook. She goes and gets another job and she's in another retail environment. Oh my God, I'm so excited. This job, right? And then shows her in a new uniform. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, she gets promoted and she's like a shift manager and she's so excited and so happy and whatever. And I'm watching, and then I would say, I don't know, 6 months after that, she's looking for a new job. And she's, and I go to previous posts and she's like, the hours suck and the pay sucks and the boss sucks and the manager suck. And I'm like, here we go again. Right. And so then I see her out and about one time and I'm like, hey, I said, how's the new job? And I'm, acting stupid. And I'm like, how's the new job? And she's like, well, and I don't remember if she quit or if she got fired. But she's like, I'm on doing a different job now. And I'm like, oh, I said, so how's that going? And she's like, well, it's great. A new job. And I said, we really need to, clear that energy up for you. I said, because, you were at this other job for 7-8 years or almost 10 years or whatever it was. And I said, and now it's been 6-8 months and you're on to a second job already. And so when we are in a position in our life, you can do this in a, I think it's, well, I never mind. I won't, because that's going to be too hard to try to explain, but is you could rate each of the 4 areas in your life. You could rate your health, your money, your career, and your relationships. And you could rate each one, giving them up to 5 stars, let's say, of how appreciative you are for each of those areas. Now, you could say, well, Jen, but yeah, that's great and everything. If my health were perfect, I would be 5 stars, but it's not. So I'm a 1 star. And I get it. I 100,000% get it. So when we start talking about the power of thank you, there's a big shift that happens when we start being grateful for the things that we have in our life, whether they are where we want them to be or not. So I teach meditation, right? And the underlying foundational work that I do in my coaching program and working with my clients is wherever you're at in your life, you can uncover the block, release the block, and then now you get to fill that void with new things. That is basically the preface and the foundation of my business. And I have lots and lots and lots and lots of tools and techniques and methods that help to uncover it, to then fill something else in. We use meditation. We use different walkthrough techniques to help to facilitate that whole process. And in the meantime, when things are going awry in your life, is to still continuously be grateful. So like last episode, if you listen to it, I was talking about triggers, and I'm not going to talk about it too much today, but let's just take something simple, like just something in your life that really, really pisses you off, is to be grateful for it. And you're like, are you kidding me, Jen? I don't want to be grateful for that because I don't want more of that. No, but you know what? You could be grateful because what it's going to do is showcase to you something more about you, your knowing and your understanding of yourself at a deeper level that builds the connection with you. And there is nothing greater. There is nothing greater because it is in that journey, that journey inward, that creates a better life for yourself. So if you can look outward and say, you know what, I'm stuck in traffic, thank you, because I'm going to uncover why this is upsetting me when I get home. When my so-and-so leaves the tube of toothpaste out on the sink and doesn't clean up after himself, thank you, because I'm going to uncover that trigger and I'm going to get to know more about myself later. Okay? So there's pain in the body. Thank you for the shoulder pain. Thank you for this back pain. Thank you for this ankle pain, because as soon as I'm done with this podcast episode, as soon as I'm done driving the kids to school, as soon as I'm done with work today, I'm going to go into my workshop and I'm going to uncover why that bothers me. I'm going to uncover the trigger and I'm going to begin healing, because I want the power of the universe in the palm of my hands, because now I get to create the life that I want to live. And I get to go do that. So let's get back to the power of thank you. Everything is energy, as I say in almost every single episode. Everything is energy, even your words. Even your words. So if you say something like, I hate you, there's energy there. And if you are tuned in, you can feel the shift in your energy when you say the word, I hate you. Okay? I can feel it. My jaw clenches. My heart immediately closes up. Okay? I can feel that. So if I say, I love you, I immediately, even as I'm saying it right now in this example, I immediately feel my heart open. And if I do it just a teeny bit more with a little bit more enunciation, I can feel tears behind my eyes. There's energy in your words. When you are saying thank you, you are raising your vibration. When you raise your vibration, you are increasing your healing. You are reducing stress. You are becoming healthier. You are flooding the body with endorphins as you raise your vibration. In previous episodes, I talk about the survival emotions. Those survival emotions are low in the chakras, keeping you anchored in the physical world. It is a very slow moving, dense feeling in your body. You become very dense. And I don't mean dense as in not intelligent. I just mean like the energy is very slow moving. We become sluggish. We become almost too physical. And we are a spiritual being. We need to be attached to the planet energetically, physically, of course, but you also need to be attached energetically to the spiritual realm. When there's a balance and there's harmony in your energy and in your chakras, then you are creating a frequency like this, a higher frequency, but you're also creating this channel for life force energy to flow and for Mother Earth's abundance to flow through you. We can do that with the words, thank you. And I am beginning a new practice. I was listening to a guided meditation this morning on Insight Timer, which is a meditation app that I use often. I send it to my current clients. I send my playlist to them, and we share different episodes that or guided meditations that we listened to that were amazing, that we loved, or certain artists, I guess I could call them, or creators who create the guided meditations. And we share those with each other. If you're a client of mine, you'll get that list. And we go through, I was doing this one this morning, and he was talking about the power of thank you. And he was talking about, the vibration and increasing your vibration. And as you do that, you are increasing your ability to heal the body, to attract the things that you want, to improve your relationships. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like totally what I talk about. And he said, one of the things that you could do is to start practicing saying thank you at least 100 times each day. Practice that for 7 days and then journal your findings. So I'm going to pass that message on to you, where you say thank you and you just go. You just go and go and go. And you can add things. He says to avoid using words like, thank you for my house, or thank you for my money, or thank you for my husband, or thank you for my wife. He just says literally just say the words thank you. Because remember, words have vibration. And he says, do at least 100 times. When things are going great, double that. And so what I did today, because I'm working and I'm recording today, is every hour on the hour, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do 10 thank yous. That will get me to 100. Now, of course, as I do it and as I'm feeling amazing, I do more. So 20, 25, and I'm going to do that for 10 hours. So every hour on the hour, I'm going to stop and do that. And I think that it's important to just create a little bit of a practice for yourself to then journal and become kind of the scientist. And the word I used in the last episode is triggerologist. So I think when we can just go inward, think about what it might do for you, think about how it might change your life, but it raises your vibration. And in raising your vibration, that's where life gets really interesting. If you are living in those survival emotions, which are anger, grief, loneliness, sadness, despair, resentment, vengeance, overwhelm, all of those are very anchored in the physical world. And when you're anchored in the physical world, you're not in that creative space. You have to be in the higher chakras and a higher vibrational frequency to really begin to create your life the way you want. And now moving forward is thanking, be aware as you go out today, is be aware of when people are saying nice things to you or doing nice things for you, and make sure that you're saying thank you. And those people that are saying thank you to you, make sure you're saying you're welcome. And I would be curious to know your findings. So join me on one of my Facebook groups. I've got 3 of them. You can friend me on Facebook, JenMac, JenMac. You can also you can join my communities online on Facebook, which are Lady Rising and Chakras for Beginners. And make a post. I said, hey, I'm listening to this, The Power of Thank You, and here were my findings after 7 days. So I would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear your story. Keep sharing your stories with me, as you're listening, and I really appreciate it. So I will say this: thank you for sharing your stories, reaching out to me via email, via messenger, and letting me know how my podcasts are setting with you and what is happening in your life as a result. And also, just as you continue to listen, my appreciations. Thank you. If you enjoyed this show, please consider making a small donation. This helps me to continue creating powerful episodes for you each week, but also you become a bigger part of changing the world by changing yourself one episode at a time. By investing in my show, you are investing in yourself, your life, and your planet. And by elevating yourself, you are elevating others around you. And I thank you.